Large language model.
Yeah. Oh, you know large language model. That's
Wow,
great.
you're so condescending, goddammit.
That was exact condescending. I don't know. Some people don't know.
Forget the Cho Bros in Korea. I'm flying to Detroit tonight.
It's a choke me out.
Hello, welcome back to the Shintaro Higashi Show with Peter Yu. Today's going to be so out of character for us. Well, not out of character for Peter.
Yeah,
who's like
we've been kind of doing
Princeton,
this. Yeah.
Princeton / tech guy, AI, PhD, all that stuff. I'm just a judo bum. But yeah, what is ChatGPT is going to be the thing. And I'm going to try to make it useful for the grapplers out there.
Yeah. So you've already asked me this question, kind of like you're already using ChatGPT, right?
I've never asked you what
is
is ChatGPT. What do you think? I'm a caveman?
No, as in like how to use it. Like I told you about like some
You asking
prompt
questions.
prompt engineering or something. Yeah, you ask questions. Yeah. So I thought
you made it sound like, oh, Peter, what is this damn ChatGPT on the computers?
Oh no, I meant more
You
like
make it sound
how
like
does
that.
work? No.
My
I meant
God,
more.
man, my
He asked
God.
more as in like how does it work, what is it, and whatever. So it happens that ChatGPT is kind of close to my research area. So I was thinking, I guess since it gotten out of it's became a reality. It's just I think a lot of people are using it, including you, and then we were just talking
Yeah.
about using it for some stuff, right? And so I thought maybe I can try to demystify it a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Man, let's do it.
Because I think a lot. You also sent me a video. It's like, coding is dead or something. Because
Yes,
of
because
the-
I
it's a-
saw a video like,
Yeah.
oh my God, all this AI stuff better at coding than software engineers. They're going to be obsolete very soon. You could code stuff through ChatGPT now.
which is true. But I can kind of like maybe give my more nuanced take on that issue later.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So what is ChatGPT, right? So just tell me your understanding of it. Like you say it's like something you can ask questions, right?
It's a large language model.
Yeah. Oh, you know large language model. That's
Wow,
great.
you're so condescending, goddammit.
That was exact condescending. I don't know. Some people don't know.
Forget the Cho Bros in Korea. I'm flying to Detroit tonight.
It's a choke me out. So yeah, it is a large language model, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great because now then what is language? What is a language model, right?
Yeah,
So
interesting.
I think it starts from that, and then it's what language modeling is basically. It's basically trying to answer the question: can we assign a probability of how likely this given sentence is?
Oh, okay, nice.
So like, you can say something like, "Oh, I love judo, and I do judo every 2 weeks, every twice a week or something." That's like a valid sentence, so it should get more like it should get assigned a higher probability, right?
Yeah.
But as opposed to, I Shintaro, you love, judo, all this like random string of words shouldn't get assigned a higher probability, right? They should get
Yes,
assigned like a lower
agreed.
probability.
Yeah.
So that's what ChatGPT and large language models do it like at the fundamental level. That's all they do. It basically knows how to assess if a given sentence is likely, it's like sounds natural or not.
Interesting. So isn't that how little kids kind of learn language as well?
Yeah, so in some sense there's some analogy to it, like how does how kids learn language just by kind of like repeatedly hearing what natural language sounds like, right? So basically language models kind of do the same thing, but they basically read just bunch of text or generated by humans, or like natural language text, and it tries to learn.
What do you mean by read, though?
Read. So basically, I mean, so when you're reading a text file or a document with bunch of words, ultimately in the computer when you save it, it gets each letter basically gets assigned like a number.
It's binary, you mean?
Yeah, so it's assigned a number ID, like an ID,
Okay.
right?
But it's not binary?
It is, and then a number can be represented as a binary.
Oh, yeah, of
eventually,
course. Yeah.
So at the high level, each letter gets assigned a binary. So that's kind of like how computers understand letters. right? But large language models, they use what they call tokens.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a smaller than a word, but bigger than a letter. It's kind of like a subword almost.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you know, some for example, like a computer. It's like a
Yeah.
compute, and ER is like a separate.
I'll tell you. Let me interrupt
Okay.
you
Yeah,
and be completely frank.
yeah.
And let's keep this because it's authentic. You know why this is not good? Because
Why?
you went from 0 to 60. Like a lot of people who are listening who don't
Yeah.
have this background are gonna be completely lost. And we talking about what is ChatGPT, right?
Right.
You ask the thing questions and it uses AI and then spits out an answer,
Yeah.
right? And then there needs to be another layer above it before you can kind of go into the nitty gritty of this stuff.
I
I
see.
feel like.
Maybe I could
Yeah.
start it this way. So yeah, you ask questions.
You know what you gotta do? You gotta do it. You gotta do Eli 5, Eli 10, Eli, 20, and then Eli Genius like me. You know.
Okay.
Sure.
So Eli 5. So okay, let's go back. So you just kind of remember how these things read, like computers read text. But okay, let's backtrack. You can right now ChatGPT. You can ask questions and it'll generate answers, right?
You could ask it anything.
Anything, pretty
Yeah.
much anything. It'll say something about it.
How
right?
accurate is it?
I mean, it depends. Like, it's for certain things. If there's a lot of information in the training data, so to speak, like if it read a lot about it, it'll be pretty accurate. But if it's like something novel, it's gonna be less accurate. That's kind of like the general sense you can have.
Yeah. All right. So, quick question.
Yeah.
Right. Yumi had a flu and fever the other night. Her
Yeah.
heart rate was like 160, 170 while she was sleeping.
Oh wow.
I put
Okay.
it into ChatGPT. It's like, you got to take her to the
Yeah.
hospital right away. I get to the hospital. They're like, kids with a fever
Yeah.
all the time. 160, 180. As long as they're drinking fluids, you can wake them up. They're not confused and falling over. And they're
Yeah.
like, it's completely fine. I was like, yo, but ChatGPT and Google were telling me a different story. They were saying
Yeah.
like it shouldn't be above a certain
Yeah.
threshold, which was like 130, 140,
Yeah.
and it was way above and beyond. So essentially, ChatGPT was completely wrong about this thing. And I also got multiple opinions. I also know, remember Elliot from the dojo? He's a doctor now. He's an ER doc,
Okay.
and he's working in pediatrics.
Yeah.
And he was like, bro, 180, completely normal for a kid with a fever.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I think my guess, is so these things are pretty opaque and how the internals. But my guess is that, you know how WebMD, people joke about how WebMD says everything is cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably a conscious decision they made, the WebMD people, because they rather err on the other side than diagnosing less, right?
Yeah. True.
And then
Yeah.
ChatGPT and Google, all these systems are probably tuned similarly because they don't want to it's better to be more careful than less. So now you are worried and you actually go see a doctor, and the doctors are better equipped. I mean, they're more knowledgeable about the whole situation, and they are able to give you like a more accurate answer. But if ChatGPT said,
Yeah.
"Oh, you don't have to do anything; it's fine," then
So does
you know.
ChatGPT? It doesn't make the decision. Google makes that decision, and all the information on Google through the language reading model, where ChatGPT reads it, it's just kind of regurgitating what it said on Google, or where does it pull the information?
So that's kind of okay. So let's kind of separate that because now the current iterations of large language models can use Google.
Yeah.
Some of them, but large language models themselves don't, and all this knowledge.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
All this knowledge is just contained in large language model. They're like just basically all this knowledge has been converted into numbers, and then you can basically you could do is you can ask the questions, and then large language model will kind of basically using all the knowledge contained in it generate the answers.
But it's
And that's
connected to the
remarkable.
internet now. The ChatGPT 4.440.
I think you 4.0. I think there you can
Is it
have
40 or 4.0?
4.0, 4.0,
Okay.
and then you can have an option where you can turn it on. Like you can.
Why
use,
is it not 4.0? Because ChatGPT 3.0 and now it's 4.0. I thought it was ChatGPT 3.0 to 40.
I know it's OpenAI's naming scheme. I don't know why they named it. I have no idea actually. It's like a weird naming scheme.
All right, let me ask you another question.
Yeah.
You go on Reddit and say, hey, Reddit, my kid has this and that, and then has
Yeah.
all these subreddits like, oh,
Yeah.
ER medicine, parenting, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Would it ever go through all that and then make a decision based on that?
You mean?
And then because it has a source, like I'm a doctor. Obviously, it's not verified or anything like that.
Yeah.
But would it go through that? Take that into is that into consideration?
So you're asking if ChatGPT will search Reddit,
Yeah.
like for your specific question.
Yes. No, I know they're not searching it, but I wonder if it's
okay.
part of the database.
Oh yeah, so they definitely use. They definitely. I wouldn't be surprised if they scraped Reddit post as part of their data. I mean, Reddit has a lot of knowledge in it, right?
But would it weight it more because it's coming from an ER doc versus like?
No, so that's like the stuff that it's not clear. Like even right now,
Yeah.
so you can't really even there's no way to tell how ChatGPT will weigh different things. It's not like a conscious being.
Yeah.
It's more
No.
like it's basically it just kind of like treats all the text the same, and then it just
Yeah.
keeps trying to basically learn the distribution, like the probability of a sentence from this gigantic training
So
data.
everything is like, oh, this is probably right.
Exactly. That's why it's dangerous. That's why OpenAI hires a lot of people to actually filter the data, so to get the training data the most accurate as possible. That's
two
a very
questions. Number one, you know how you published a paper recently?
yeah.
Does ChatGPT know about it already?
I don't know. I'm not sure how they collect data, but if they continuously
But shouldn't
collect
it be
data,
live in the real time? Like anytime you publish
No,
something, shouldn't it
because-
go into the thing and?
because training this thing takes so much energy and so much energy and resource. It takes millions of dollars to train these things once.
Yeah.
So training is very it's not live basically. So that's why people are trying to give ChatGPT access and large language models access to Google, because in this then it can kind of pull in live information.
If there's a team filtering the information and
Yeah.
there is a top-down leadership within that company, what's to say that a lot of the stuff we're getting is convinced or influenced by Sam Altman?
I'm sure that happens. It's just like how all the social media companies, they have their own moderation teams, right?
Yeah.
And they have their own biases, and you can agree with them or not, but it depends. That's
Yeah.
why it's really hard to say. Especially now because OpenAI and all the other companies don't really want to publish in detail how they collected their data. So it's
Yeah.
hard to tell, but they definitely have moderation teams, data cleaning teams. Yeah, because
Man,
that's very
so what's
important.
to say
too.
these people are gonna filter something, towards their own biases? I remember
you
asking
say-
about Trump versus Kamala on the ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
then when you mess around with certain prompts,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like there's a bias towards the left.
Yeah. So it's hard to tell if it's because the data it was trained on had that kind of bias, or they put something in front of ChatGPT, like they call guardrails, to kind of circumvent that, like kind of filter through some stuff. But it's hard to tell, or maybe it might be that there are more people with liberal people on the internet are generally more liberal or something, and then they generate more data. That could be it too. So
Yeah.
it's really hard to tell. So these are very like complex, opaque systems.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it's hard to tell. So
Interesting.
this is why ChatGPT, although it seems smart, you have to kind of be careful. You always have to verify if what's generated, is accurate. And same with coding right
Yeah.
now. You can code, but once it gets to the more complex tasks, you have to check.
Okay, so
Yeah.
level 1 is like, all right, hey man, how many grams of protein can I absorb in
Yeah.
one sitting? Or like, what's the difference between skull crushers on an
Yeah.
incline versus flat? And like, that's level 1 question asking, right? It's kind of
Yeah, it's
taking all the
they call it knowledge, right? You just kind of have to memorize. ChatGPT should be very good at it.
But
Yeah.
you know, like there's little intricacies like because those are two things that actually really I asked ChatGPT, right? And then it was like, well, you know, flat it works majority of the long head of the triceps, and then incline works more of the long head of the triceps. And I was like, bro, it doesn't really help. And then
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, well, the angle of the muscle, you know, fatigue is like is the same. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, you're on an incline. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it wasn't very useful. You
So
know?
yeah, so that's
Even though I
actually-
know the answer to this question already, I wanted to ask it, right? And then,
Yeah.
so what is like, all right, so that's level 1 stuff. You know,
Yeah.
like how can I make it level 2 sort of
I see.
like,
Like
a little bit
maybe-
more prompt engineering-ish? Let's start with what is prompt engineering, even though I know what it is, because you've condescendingly explained it to me multiple times. You know?
So prompt engineering is basically like can we be smart about asking questions to ChatGPT so that we get the right answer, right? Because
yeah.
that it's called a prompt, like how to prompt ChatGPT so that it'll give us the right answer. Then it's becoming kind of an art, and that kind of goes to the core of like the limitation of ChatGPT. Basically, again, it's fundamentally it just knows how natural language sounds. That's all it is. And so what's happening is when you ask questions, when you ask a question, it just tries to kind of complete that question.
Yep.
And it just happens that the training data is in the form of question and an answer. So because ChatGPT knows how this sentence, that starts with a question,
Yeah.
should end with an answer, that's what it is doing. It's basically like, okay, I know how this sentence this conversation that started with a question should end with an answer.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna produce the most likely sequence of words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what it is. So ultimately, that's the limitation. That's why it's right now it's very like sensitive to how you ask the question, and then you have to prompt engineering. And
Interesting.
how I do, I don't know. I'm not a prompt engineer, and there's a whole research on how to ask the right question, and
Yeah.
people have tried different things, but it's more of an art than science. There's no
You know
like
what?
a rigorous way to do it.
You know, after
Yeah.
we had a discussion, what is prompt engineering, and you condescendingly told me the different
Why?
steps.
I can't say
Right?
condescending.
Is that- there's the context and this and the
Yeah.
do this and the as if I was and then
Yeah.
pretend like I was and you know I am
Yeah,
this
yeah,
person
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you know answer you know and then you can kind of say like hey you know make the answer very friendly because I'm explaining something to Shintaro who's a retard, right? So something like this and you know you play around with it and yeah, it really is. I forgot where I was going with this, but it was actually really amazing.
It does like
You want
kind
to give
of
us an example of something like that?
prompt engineering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I asked you these things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you kind of gave me sort of a guideline.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, just kind of give an example. I said, hey, if you were on Warren Buffett's team,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and if you were to analyze a company like SoFi based on the 10K and all this
Yeah.
stuff, and if you look at the financials, like, would you invest
Invest
in
in
it?
it, yeah.
And then give me an answer if I
Yeah.
were to explain this to my friend who I went to college
Yeah,
with, who
yeah,
wrestles,
yeah.
who doesn't really know what he's
Yeah.
talking about,
Yeah.
who thinks he knows what he's talking about, go.
Yeah.
You know, and it gave a really, really good answer. You know, and I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is like so
It
incredible.
is
you know?
powerful, and then that basically, it's kind of read that if you ask someone like online, people probably have like, hey,
Yeah.
pretend you're someone, and then it'll probably go through like the scenario, right? It's basically read that, and then it's kind of mimicking it.
Yeah.
But that's not to say this doesn't think or doesn't know things, because it does have a lot of knowledge, really does. And then a good way to think about this, and this was explained to, but this was used by Ilya Sutskever, who used to be the chief scientist of OpenAI, basically the person who led the effort to develop ChatGPT. And he said, say you're like reading a detective novel, and you hear all these stories about all the characters, motives and
Yeah.
backgrounds, and at the end, the last sentence is like, so now the murderer is blank, right?
Ooh, yeah.
So in order to fill in the blank, to generate the next word, you have to have all the knowledge of the context and then the background knowledge and whatever to
Yeah.
get that right?
Yeah.
So ChatGPT basically is trained that way. Like it just predicts the next word based on the previous words. Because that's a way to estimate a probability of a sentence.
Yeah.
But because it's read so much
Yeah.
that its only goal is to be good at predicting the next word. But in order to do that, you actually have to have a lot of knowledge.
Interesting.
So that's why it knows all this, it knows how to follow your prompt, how to give you answer. But at the same time, because its only purpose is to finish the next word, if it doesn't know, sometimes it'll just make shit up.
I wonder if it
Yeah.
could all right, so when is it going to be a thing where it's like if you're a judo player or a wrestler or whatever it
Yeah.
is, suppose you're wrestling Spencer Lee in the finals of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And then feed it all these different things, and it's like, what is a good, right? Do you think one day,
Strategy?
yeah, it'll be able to answer that question? Because there's not a lot of people who've written text on this stuff at all.
I'm sure it can. I'm sure it can do it right now. I mean, it's like it may not have the.
Yeah, but how could it do it without having any text around it? No one's writing articles detail about like he's lead left, right, and his left hand goes to the post on the head,
Right.
and if he grabs the wrist, he goes for an arm drag or whatever it is.
So-
Does it have that information to read?
I'm sure it knows a lot about wrestling strategies because people have written articles about it. I'm sure. So, but it probably
I'm
wouldn't
pretty
have.
certain that people have not.
But yeah, so if it doesn't, what you could do is you can kind of provide that information in the context, in the prompt, right? Like Spencer Lee does this and then whatever.
Ah.
And then you can kind of have a conversation because he knows how to kind of reason about it. Like, oh, it probably has a basic knowledge of wrestling and all. But if you want it to be like a wrestling expert, you probably have to collect some data on wrestling and try to kind of, basically train it further on the wrestling data if you want to instill that. And then a lot of these companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, all these companies actually offer this type of service to enterprise clients. So, like if you're, for example, KBI is to say you wanna pay for a ChatGPT that's like a judo expert.
Yeah.
You could kind of gather all the data you have around judo and then give it to OpenAI or Anthropic.
What if I want to
they'll do it.
analyze churn?
Sure. Yeah, you could also do that too. You can kind of, Hakuin.ai, our Andrew's company, Drew's company.
What a great segue.
I know. Drew's company could gather all this data about their customer churn and then give it to partner with OpenAI or Anthropic or what have you. They'll develop their own ChatGPT. For
Drew came to
Hakuin.
judo, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Last night. So do you think
Yeah.
one day ChatGPT can read all the mind body data and the attendance data, given that I take attendance consistently, and then say, you know what, it's about time Drew is coming, and then it could sort of monitor Drew's freaking internet activity or something, or
Yeah.
right,
So that I mean
and then
that's,
predict when he's coming in next.
So it can kind of do it already in a reasonable sense as long as you give access to the information.
yeah.
And
But Google has access to all that information, no?
yeah, so now the problem right now, the limitation is that so you're kind of going into what they call like agentic instead of generative. It's now the new hype is agentic AI.
Yes.
You've heard of that term?
Wow,
it's
you
like
and your condescension, man.
What I mean?
Jesus.
No, I don't know. It's like
Guys, listen to the tone of the way Peter talks to me, and then comment below on the video whether or not he's being condescending or not. Maybe it's just my insecurity.
I have
do you
no idea.
know what agentic AI is?
I only heard about agentic AI, the term,
That's pretty
only
new. Yeah.
recently. It's new for me. So so basically the idea is that can we give these large language models access to tools? It doesn't know, not a lot of. It's actually kind of hard to teach these things how to use tools.
Yeah.
because it kind of messes. You know, if you want to use tools, you have to be very precise on the commands and whatever. And like I said, ChatGPT large language models
Yeah.
can mess up in there. Anyway, so that's kind of like the newer research area. But you can imagine a more agentic ChatGPT that has access to your mind body system that can kind of go and, you know, pull the information,
Yeah.
processes, and then output some actions. And yeah, of course, that's like actively being researched on
Yeah.
as a product.
So
yeah.
you know, like how every AI movie has like this Turing test, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all right, so if you
Turing
were
test.
having a conversation with
What is the Turing test for the audience?
it's when you're talking to the thing
Yeah.
in sort of like this blinded setting,
Yeah.
do you know that you're talking to a machine, or do you feel like, oh, is this an
It's a
actual
human,
person on
right,
the other
yeah.
side? Is a human? How is
Man.
that for you, Peter?
God damn, that was so perfect.
Man,
That was
you wanted to
perfect.
gotcha me so bad.
No, because I know you know.
Yeah.
I know you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you love that stuff. So
I
know
do.
you
I mean,
know.
I
Yeah.
love the movie Ex Machina. That's why.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only reason why I know that. Yeah.
Oh, did they have a Turing test scene?
Well, the whole movie
The
was
whole
about.
movie is a Turing test.
Turing
kind of,
test, yeah.
So what's your question about?
It's a Turing test within a Turing test.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So do they do these like tests in the like in the movies? Like, okay, let's see if this will pass the Turing test.
Do oh,
You know, let's
if
put this on the
if researchers actually perform Turing test,
yeah
So
on this thing.
the Turing test has been beaten a long time ago.
Oh, a long time ago. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before ChatGPT. You don't actually.
Interesting.
And that's why. So there's some flaws. Like a Turing test itself is kind of under-specified. So it's not like it's a cool thought experiment, but
Yeah.
it's not a rigorous scientific test. Having said that, scientists have performed that test, but turns out it's very easy to fool a human. You can kind of see how, you know, like
Oh yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
all these people scamming other people on the phone.
Yeah, dude, there's
yeah.
you know, like when you're on Tinder or something, like sometimes I don't know.
Exactly.
Am I talking to a robot, a prostitute, or is there other
Yeah.
human on this other side? You know.
So it's pretty easy to fool humans as a machine.
All right. Next question. You
so,
ready?
Yeah.
Is it possible for these things to be sentient one day?
It's kind of like a Lex Friedman kind of question, right? I don't. So first of all, for me, I tend to kind of avoid that question because for me, sentience or consciousness are very like they're not precise terms. So for some people, I think it's valid that you could say ChatGPT is a sentient being. Some people made that claim. I'm not saying I don't agree.
All right, so let's
necessarily.
discuss a
Yeah.
definitive term
Yeah.
as a sign what it means to be. Okay. Let's just say the moment. All right. What is your earliest memory
Maybe like
off the top of your head? Quick.
Yeah,
Earliest memory.
I was playing with toy trains in my grandpa's
You sure there
house.
weren't Barbies?
I didn't have Barbies. I wish I did. I would
All right,
have
so
loved
you're
it. Yeah.
playing
So
trains with your grandpa.
Yeah.
That moment,
Yeah.
when do you think a computer can have that? Or is it even possible for that to happen? See, that moment is okay, let's just say
I see.
you
Like
go
kinda-
from unconscious to conscious.
You're talking about like subjective experience, right? Like your own subjective experience about the world, kind of like that, right?
I mean,
Like a
I
forming
think
memory.
this is like me making stuff up now,
Yeah.
right? But the moment you have that first memory, now that you recall that thing, there
Yeah.
was something that happened that moment, right?
Ah.
Now all of a sudden you were sentient in the thing before,
Ah.
but something shifted over, right?
Uh-huh.
Can that happen?
So
To
if you're
ChatGPT.
just saying, oh, we're just talking about forming memories, I think, you know, ChatGPT can definitely do that already. You know, it can kind of it can
The
remember
moment it
things
becomes
about you.
aware of itself.
What I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? Like that you're a separate being? Like I don't know what that means. Like aware of yourself. How do
I
what
mean,
does that
pre
mean to
you
you?
playing with trains with your grandpa,
Yeah.
you were just kind of existing.
So yeah, like I think what you mean is that it's not just about like forming a memory about the world, but it's forming a memory about yourself, like how you felt and how.
Yeah, like this is me, who I am.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sure. So this kind of the what they call the existence proof, right? We already have things that can do that, like animals, like humans definitely. I would say my dog definitely
Yeah.
has that kind of, subjective experience.
Yeah. Is
That-
your dog smarter than me? By the way?
No, I don't think so. That'd be, I should write. Yeah, that would be crazy. Yeah, and in that sense, I think it's possible that a machine can do it. Because at the end of the day, like if you cannot take this reductionist view, we are a machine
Yeah.
that made of protein. So I think it is possible, but I don't know how far away we are from that moment. And for me, it's kind of it's a fun question to ponder about, but I
Yeah.
think it's kind of a pointless question. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think you could teach Tesla's robot to do judo one day?
Oh, so that, yeah, I'm sure. But you know what's funny? Teaching physical tasks is a lot harder
Yeah.
than teaching the machine these mental tasks like math.
Yeah.
So I forget the name of the paradox, because for the early days of AI, a lot of people thought it would be harder to teach a machine to play chess than teach it how to walk. But turns out it's the opposite. It's a lot harder to teach a robot to walk properly than teach how to chess. So yeah, so that's and there's a reason why the evolution took a lot longer to have animals that can walk and really navigate through the world than developing this cognitive abilities. Yeah, so judo will be teaching the robot how to actually do judo with people is gonna be harder, very hard.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's humans are amazing at physical tasks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how even driving, people say, oh, humans are terrible drivers, so we should like have robots drive for us. It's actually, if you get into it, it's amazing how we as drivers. It's driving is a very hard task, and humans are exceptional at it.
So what's the new thing in ChatGPT? Like they talk about like, all right, it leveled up from 3.0 to 3.5 to 4.0, like huge jumps, right? Like logarithmically humongous jumps,
Yeah.
right?
Exponentially.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Thanks for the correction, Peter. So what makes it such a big jump from one to the next?
So
Just computing power, or what is it?
it's actually in the research field, we don't think we're making this step function jumps. Where a lot of researchers feel, including me, we're kind of stagnating actually since ChatGPT. So a lot of people are trying to find the next breakthrough, and then, like for example, 4.0, I think OpenAI basically kind of gave the ChatGPT the ability to reason, as in like a multi-step reason. So instead of right now, the first iteration of ChatGPT are just kind of like giving you gut answers, like whatever comes up to your mind first. So that's why a lot of times it's wrong. But what humans do is like we can kind of stop and kind of think through it before we answer, right? Like we can gather all this. Like when you play chess,
Yeah.
Magnus Carlsen said, what's his name? Magnus Carlsen, right?
Yeah, Magnus Carlsen. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a guy.
he says when he looks at the board, he has all these moves, right? And he spends the next minute or whatever to disprove that these are good moves. So that's kind of what people are trying to make large language models do now. So we can generate all these gut answers, but like, can we actually think about these answers and then reason through them to be more accurate? So that's another breakthrough, or like people are trying to improve on.
Yeah. And
And-
then, so now it's also generating images, ChatGPT, right?
So
like,
yeah,
it can do that. It has image generators.
so the image generator is
Yeah.
a separate model. So it actually, so ChatGPT can't generate images by itself. So it basically generates. They have another model that takes text and then generate images.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so what happens is like if you ask ChatGPT to generate an image, it'll take that, and then write a prompt to that image model, generation model, and then it gives image. Yeah. So and then once the image is generated, it kind of returns to you. So that's why a lot of times it messes up.
messes up big time. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not doing it. It's kind of using a tool, kind of like
Yeah.
it's an agent. Like, but the
if it
tool's
could
not
use-
as good.
But if it can do that really well, then it can make moving pictures. Therefore, it can make.
Yeah, they have video generators now. So
Yeah.
text to video.
Yeah, I've seen like the Will Smith eating spaghetti.
Yeah, I know it's gotten really good now,
It's
right?
gotten really good. Yeah. So
So
wild. And
it's-
that's what you're doing.
no, I'm more on the video understanding. I'm on
Yeah,
video
that's what I
to
said. Video.
text.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
video to text.
Yeah, not text to video. I'm more into video to some action text. Yeah. So I'm on. They call it video understanding,
Yeah.
and what you describe as video generation. Yeah, which is
Ah.
the approach is a little different. Yeah,
Interesting. So what is like? All right. So you're applying for jobs now,
yeah.
right? And you applied to some big finance firms because you're a total cop out.
I
But
want
let's
to
just say-
I want to keep
yeah,
my
so-
options open.
Okay, so
yeah.
if someone's listening, right,
Yeah.
who might be in a position to hire someone
Yeah.
who has your experience, like what will be your value add to whatever company they're at,
I see. So
based on you in the AI ChatGPT field,
yeah.
and then your research.
So yeah, so my research focus is on video understanding, specifically what they call vision language models. They can process videos, and I specifically focus on applying these VLMs in the context of what they call embodied AI, so like physical things. So there's some limitations and technical challenges. But so that's my AI expertise. But at the same time, I worked as a software engineer before, so 7 years. So I know how to basically engineer an actual product that's production ready. And so I'm someone who can research new approaches
Yeah.
and then take it all the way to production.
But you
Yeah.
can't do that by yourself. Surely you need a team of software engineers to build certain pieces.
Of course,
it, right?
yeah. So and yeah,
Interesting.
that's why I've worked on teams,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I know how to work within the team. I know how to lead a team, and yeah, that's a plus too. Yeah.
So,
So-
wouldn't it just make sense to apply to Google and YouTube and stuff like that? Because that's the kind of field that they're in.
Yeah, of course, but it's it's tough. I am gonna apply, but it's
Yeah.
like very competitive, super
Yeah.
competitive.
So, what's the
yeah.
use case for you at a bank?
There's so if you think about videos, it's a series of frames, video frames, right?
Right.
And then each frame is a very what they call like noisy data. Like so, you basically want to. There are a lot of pixels that are useless for understanding. So you basically the task is like given this long sequence of things, can you extract the right information out of it, right?
All right. Give you an example. Ready?
Yeah.
If you were to take all the video feed from an ATM machine, is
Yeah.
this person being coerced to take video money out of the freaking machine,
Yeah.
or not? Peter, go ahead, build a freaking product specifically using your abilities.
Yeah.
Can you do it?
I'm sure it is technically possible, but I think it's probably going to be hard to get the data. So I'll probably have to rely a lot on like human psychology and body language.
No, but if you
expertise.
work for, oh,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
To-
It should be a
yeah.
definitive yes. Give me this job.
but yes, I'm sure I can come up with a solution, and then we can.
So
iterate
is that
on.
something
Yeah.
a bank would likely hire somebody for to do, or is that like
They
a
may.
use-
It's like a security on the security side, but I've been applying to more on like investment strategies. Yeah, because it's.
Oh my God, man! With all you, with the liberal, I want to do good for the world, and you're applying to big banks,
But
so
just
they
to
can
see
make
what's
more
out
money.
there. Just to see what's out there.
Wow,
Yeah.
Peter, the hypocrisy.
We'll see what happens. It's not like they might take me. Like I say,
No.
I'm on the video side, so my expertise would be most fitting to like autonomous vehicles, robotics companies, or just like straight up video understanding, like sports analytics or video generation. But like I said,
Yeah.
there's some crossover that could happen between my expertise and what they need at financial
So
firms.
we both have
But-
Teslas.
Yeah.
When full self-driving, did you buy it?
No, I don't have it, but I've tried the trial. Yeah.
Does it work good, or
Last
how
time,
far are we away from it?
it's I think we're very I think it depends on our appetite for mistakes. made by FSD systems.
Mm.
I think it's one of those cases where I think we're like, it's like up to 80 to 90% is easy, and then the 10% require like you. The first 90% requires 10% of the effort,
Yeah.
and the last 10% requires a 90% effort. One of those things, like the power law.
Like
So-
Pareto principle? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
Pareto,
Yeah.
Pareto, or the power law distribution, whatever. Hey, man, dude, you're killing it, bro. Pareto, wow, okay.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for the nice job, buddy.
No,
Yeah,
no,
appreciate
it's like I'm impressed, man. I don't know. It's just like you read a lot about economics and business. I
No,
think
it's little by little talking to you. Like the
Yeah.
Diddler effect.
yeah. Didier effect.
Yeah, the Diddler effect. That's what I call it.
No, the Diderot effect. The
Yes, I
Diderot
know.
effect.
Diderot.
Yeah, it's a French guy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a funny one, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you want to condescendingly explain it to our listeners?
When did we even talk about it? It's like a lifestyle creep, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the French philosopher Diderot wrote a funny essay about it, and I love that essay.
It's like, let me buy a nice jacket. Oh, I gotta buy nice jeans.
He got it as a gift. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, you got it as a
He
gift.
didn't
That's
even
right.
buy it. He didn't
No,
even
that's
buy
right.
it.
I got a nice jacket. I need nice jeans. Oh, these nice jeans can't go with a regular bag. I gotta get a new belt.
Yeah.
I gotta buy nice sneakers. And so it's like,
And then the closet looks grimy with your nice shit, so you
Yeah.
gotta get a new closet, and then
Yeah.
your living room looks shit. So yeah.
Diddler effect.
Yeah. But for me, I think FFTs. I think it's at a good at the place where I've used Waymo in San Francisco. It's amazing.
Oh.
It works great.
Really?
I was so impressed by it.
How do you know there's not a person driving it remotely?
Well, there's no way they could manage or they could hire enough people to remotely drive all these things.
How
And
many
then-
machines are there out there?
I don't know, but it's like a whole fleet. It's almost like the whole
No, I
Uber
believe they
operation.
can. There's not 30,000 vehicles out there.
I don't know the number, but I know
There's got to be only a couple thousand at most. And you can get a couple thousand Uber drivers to drive remotely at the thing. I believe it still can be possible. Like the
But-
Tesla robots are controlled by humans.
Oh yeah, that was like the demo thing. But I
Yeah.
do think they'll be kind of deceptive, and they'll be probably sued for that. But also this remote control communication, that delay and all, it's actually it'll probably be now at this point a lot less safe than actually having the car drive itself because of the whole delay and
I mean,
making
you're not attaching to a cell tower or something. It'd probably be like Starlink or something, right? Something a little bit more
I
reliable.
mean, it's like if DARPA can do that because they have like direct link to the drones or something, but Waymo can't afford to make that. Like that will take enormous amount of money, based on my understanding. But they should say, let's take Waymo as at face value, and then it's amazing. And I think Tesla. I heard the V13, the newest version, is amazing too. So I think we're at the point where like it can handle most of the cases, but now it's like to get to the point of like the policy, the road design, our urban design. Now, like, what's our appetite for risk of human casualty, accidents? I think now it's into that area. Like it's guiding into this like government
so
regulation.
Waymo
side.
is fully self-driving, you think?
Yeah.
And there's not a
It
human intervention on the other side.
There's no car. There's no driver.
No, but there's
Yeah.
not a remote driver somewhere
No.
else controlling the
No.
computer with the inputs.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it's an amazing technology. I encourage everyone to try it out whenever you're in a city that has Waymo. Yeah. But yeah, so in my judgment, now FSD is at the point where it's gonna now have to work with the government to come up with the right regulations. We might have to change, our road infrastructure and stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think technologically it'll keep improving, but it's gonna be like asymptotic. Like it's never gonna be perfect. That's just
No.
impossible.
Yeah.
And then just how much more effort are we willing to put in, basically, into this thing?
So what's the next level up from ChatGPT?
So I think that's it. Like the agents,
Yeah.
the ChatGPT that can use tools.
Yeah.
And I think so. And specific to my research, I'm trying to. So ChatGPT has this amazing large language models that have this amazing capabilities where they can, you know, do a lot of different things at once, right? Like it can do, it can play chess with you, it can talk about wrestling with you, judo with you,
Yeah.
generate images, whatever, right?
Now
So
you could
that-
talk to it, and then it's a
Yeah.
human voice that talks back. You could choose what kind of voice. You could
Yeah.
choose like, you know, smart, concise,
Yeah.
man. You could be
Yeah.
like woman, you know, sharp. Kind of. You could choose all these little ways to kind of like
Yeah.
have them talk to you, and you could just go back and forth like a conversation. It's kind of
So,
really
yeah.
scary, man.
It's
You
a
put a
care-
beautiful face to that, I could fall in love with that thing.
Like the movie Her.
Her, that was I saw that movie.
Yeah, amazing movie. It doesn't even need to have a face. You people will fall in love. You know, it's
Kind of nuts, man.
Yeah.
Because then these things remember things that you've asked it 4
Yeah.
months ago that your girlfriend or wife is never going to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what
That-
I mean? And
that
it
may be
makes
a
you
bad
feel
thing.
like, yeah.
You can never, you know, what if your ChatGPT girlfriend is mad at you and then brings up all this like old stuff?
That's true. That could happen, man. Wow.
Yeah, but anyway, so then
Do they have ChatGPT API based girlfriends?
I'm sure they are.
They're already out there?
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be one of the first use cases people made.
Yeah.
It must be. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but I'm sure they are. And so that's another avenue,
You
I
sure
guess.
you don't know?
I really don't know. I wish I did. And so that, and then I think so big this ability, what they call the generalization capability, where it can do multiple tasks.
Yeah.
So that's very sought after in robotics.
Yeah.
So for example, Tesla FSD cannot play judo with you, right? So but humans can. Same human. One person can do judo, can
Yeah.
drive, and all that. So that's kind of the holy grail now. Like, can we make a robot that can do multiple things?
Yeah.
And ChatGPT kind of large language models kind of show a path forward towards that lofty goal. We don't know when it will get there. A lot of people are working on it, and I'm kind of in that field with this video stuff, video understanding, and yeah, it's that's like to be the holy grail. Yeah, the
Do you
next.
make
step.
any discoveries?
I made some like small discoveries. You know, like research papers don't typically make crazy discoveries.
What
but
is
yeah.
a small discovery in layman's terms?
So one challenge in processing, making ChatGPT understand videos, right? That's my research field.
Yeah.
Is how we can give ChatGPT or large language models the ability to watch long videos. So typically, before
Yeah.
people were just focusing on clips that are seconds long, like 8 seconds, 10 seconds. But that's not really useful, right? We want to be able to watch like a whole movie
Yeah.
or just like continuously see the world in
Yeah.
like that are minutes and hours long, right?
Yeah.
So there are many challenges, but so I basically propose a way to process long videos in an efficient way. And then the key point was that we want to separate out the spatial things, where things are basically, and temporal information, how these objects move through time. So if we kind of separate those out,
Yeah.
and then give the information back to large language models, it's able to understand long videos a little better.
So, for instance, this mic's not moving, that picture's not moving, this TV in the back's not
Right.
moving. They're fixed,
Yeah.
so block it all out and only focus on.
Yeah, so
The
yeah,
shape that's moving?
kind of like so we don't know how it. I'm just kind of like designing the architecture so that the spatial information and temporal information flow through different paths, but intuitively, yes, something like that would be happening under the hood. Yeah.
I love how I asked you this question a million times, and every single
Yeah.
time you're like, you wouldn't understand it if I told
Why?
you.
Why do you
But
like
now that
making stuff
you were able to explain it in a way where probably anybody in the world can understand it.
I think
So, thanks a lot, Peter. Thanks a lot.
I've gotten better at it, but I think my previous research is very like niche. I don't even know how to sometimes it's hard for me to explain to researchers unless they're in that specific field. So this is a newer paper that I just worked on over the summer.
Wow.
So that one is a little easier to explain.
How'd you come up with that? You just came up with it yourself?
Dude, it was a process. So this is why scientists are kind of like, artists in a sense. You just kind of need some inspiration. Yeah, you have intuition on what could work, and you read what others have done, and then you just kind of try a bunch of stuff out.
Yeah. Did my
And-
teachings in judo have anything to do with any of the inspirations?
Yeah, I mean it's some resiliency. Being, I actually like what you say about like only caring about things that you can control, because a lot of times in the research there's so many factors that are out of your control, so you just have to kind of distill down what you can do. So I always try to keep that in mind.
Do you think this is so long that we should do this in 2 parts, this episode?
I think we've used to do 1 hour, right? I mean, we can just put it on. It's just like
Good.
Yeah.
So I want to like cut video stuff into it so it's kind of more visually engaging,
Yeah.
And then this is such a cool topic. Like, what is ChatGPT? Like,
Yeah.
Imagine we rank that high on that video and it becomes one of the things. And
Yeah.
that'd be really cool, right?
We'll see how it does. I mean, I do apologize. Like, it's hard for me to kind of it's explaining things is very hard. I think once
To dumb grapplers.
no, not even that. I think I just like in the beginning, like I just couldn't really like adjust what you are more curious about, because I thought maybe my initial thought was that maybe you'd be more curious about the inner workings of it, like how this actually learns.
No.
But maybe that was like not really the useful for
I think
people.
now that we've spoken about it, like of
Yeah.
the base level stuff, and people
Yeah.
can kind of get into it. That could be another episode. But yeah,
Yeah,
AI,
yeah.
really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter, for your expertise.
And we'll thank our sponsor. We already thanked Drew.
Thank
But-
Drew, hotqueen.ai
Yeah,
for your churn needs.
And Jason and Levon, thank you again,
Yep.
our steadfast supporters. Yeah. And
FujiSports.com, JudoTV.com, HigashiBrand.com.
Brand.com. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
And let us know in the comments if Peter is talking to me in a
Dude,
condescending tone.
You're saying that, man. Like,
Yeah, I'm half kidding. Yeah.
all right. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.